Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go back to something I started off doing, but kind of got sidetracked with a few things. Is go back to doing reviews, and this week what I want to review is a movie that I'm quite fond of. It's not a great movie. It's probably a movie you haven't really heard of. It's called Lunopolis, like Metropolis except Lunopolis, um, and there is a play off that words. It's not an incredibly old movie. I don't think it's 10 years old. It might be 5 years old. Might be a little bit older than that. Should probably research that. Uh, but it's, as far as I'm aware of, it went straight to video. I don't think it was ever released in the theaters. Um, but it's really good take on sort of the found footage video phenomenon. It's that format, but it's a little bit like what Blair Witch Project was supposed to be originally, which is some found footage interspersed with some documentary stuff, and then keep going back and forth between the two. And that's what's happening in this movie. Is there's it's sort of a documentary by a French filmmaker who found these videos, and he's putting the videos together to show us what happened as we go along. And basically, the footage that we're following is of this group of guys who sort of like paranormal investigators. They have a partnership with a radio show host, which is supposed to be like the Coast to Coast radio show, where they talk about paranormal stuff, weird stuff, conspiracy theory stuff, just strange things like that. And this one person calls in, very frantic, and he's afraid that, or he's talking about like there are men on the moon, and they're watching us. They've been there for the whole time. They're controlling everything, and he says he sent the radio host a bunch of stuff, and then soon after that, like the line goes dead. It sounds like the guy got killed or kidnapped or something else like that. And this is a take on a real event. A man called in to Coast Radio, talked about how he worked at Area 51. He sounded very frantic, very panicked. He had worked at Area 51. It's all true. They've got aliens down there and alien craft. And at some point, the phone call just goes dead. I think it's like the phone got dropped at the radio tower or something. And like some few weeks later, the guy calls back, goes, "Oh, I wasn't really well. I was mentally ill. I'm really sorry if I scared anyone. I didn't really mean any of that." And so, and you can, if you go look around YouTube and I'm sure BitChute and stuff, they have these videos that will, kind of back that up. So the movie picks up after that event where they received all this stuff that this guy sent them, or said they was going to send them. And one of them was a very old photo album. And in that very old photo album was a Polaroid picture, which was also very old, much older than a Polaroid picture should be, seeing as they were invented, I think, sometime in the 60s, maybe the 50s. And then, the pictures of this strange looking guy, and on the back are some numbers. They figure out the numbers are coordinates. The coordinates are nearby where they live. They go to the coordinates. There's this strange house. Under the house is this big complex, and down there they find this strange device, and that just sort of kickstarts this whole sort of sci-fi adventure story of what is the device, and people are out to get him who want the device back, and they're trying to figure out what it is, what they should do with it. I think if I had a complaint about the movie, is there's a part in the middle that's really just a lot of exposition. They finally meet this one guy who will kind of tell them what's going on, and it's really cool. It's really good, but to be honest, I've had to watch it multiple times to kind of really get it, because it's just so dense, full of information. I really like the depth that the filmmakers put into writing this history and pulling in all these different sort of conspiracy theories and things. And I hate to use conspiracy theories because some of these aren't conspiracy theories. They're just, that's what people would call them. But I mean, the movie pulls in, let's see if I can remember everything. So it pulls in Coast to Coast Radio. It pulls in that phone call. It pulls in people living on the moon. It pulls in time travel, immortality, um, the Mandela effect, alternate realities. Oh, I'm sure I'm leaving out some stuff, but yeah, there's just more and more layers that they pull in. The Church of Scientology, they kind of have a little rip on that as well. Um, and so it pulls in all these other kind of real world ideas, some of which are we know are real, like the Church of Scientology. They just flipped it around, made it a little different. And then other things like people living on the moon and time travel and stuff like that. Um, so because of all that, I think that middle part gets really sort of dense, and it's one of those you may want to stop and rewatch, and so you can kind of follow the timeline, because like a lot of this is a oddly enough, this isn't a time travel movie where we're following these guys bouncing back and forth around in time. This is a time travel movie in which other people are bouncing around forth in time, and that's confusing our main characters, our point of view characters, as they follow things, because they're not really sure what's real, what's really happened, and how to proceed, and that sort of thing. Um, so it's really a lot of fun in that sense, and really kind of gets the noggin jogging, so to speak. Of you have to pay attention and keep up with stuff, and uh, it's not as heavy handed as some other like time travel movies. I was talking to someone, and we're sort of like, it kind of reminds me of a little bit like Primer. If you ever seen that one, Primer is a very dense time travel movie. I've watched it multiple times, and it's sort of, I always catch something different. It's not a movie that's meant for you to just sit back and watch popcorn and kind of half pay attention to. It's like no, you almost need to sit down with like a notebook and keep track of like what's going on and who's doing what and how things work. Um, Lunopolis is kind of like that, but not quite as intense. You should have some popcorn while you're watching this movie as well. Um, but yeah, I think what I really liked about was this sort of layering of um, all the conspiracy theories in there as well, and it does a really interesting twist on what it means to be time traveling, and also the found footage sort of explanation. I can't really go into why, because I don't want to give away too much. This is one of those movies, unfortunately, I can't tell you much about the plot, because then I'm starting to give away too many things, and that's just not really kind of fun. It's more interesting to kind of keep track of things. I recommend it. I do have to point out it's low budget. It's well done, but it's no real not a lot of fancy special effects. There's no actors that you're going to recognize in this. The main, I think, thrust of the movie is in the story that's being told, and sort of like layers of complexity and different ways of thinking about the sort of story, and then I'm really just kind of going on for that little joyride of like, oh, what's happening here? What's going to happen? So I one of the things I've noticed is, as I've started to be my own writer and be a little independent author and publishing my own stuff, I'm having a really uh, bigger appreciation of independent filmmakers and maybe independent bands, although I'm not a big music fan for the most part. Although I've got a few that I like. Because I now know from my own personal experience the amount of work that can go into creating your own stuff without a publisher or a recording studio or I guess a record label or movie studio or something else like that backing you up and just giving you all of these resources. Of course, on the flip side, they demand a lot of money back from that, and so you end up doing a lot of work, and they end up getting a lot of money for really a lot of work you probably could have done yourself, especially when it comes to the writing world. I think a little bit in the music world it's kind of hit that as well, to where a guy with a really good computer and maybe a microphone stand and some foam on the walls, he can actually make a really good album and just be by himself. And then you sell it on Bandcamp or Spotify or SoundCloud or one of these other things, and YouTube channels. And movies, I think I have a little more appreciation just because I know that there's a lot more involved. You can't really just be a guy making a movie. Although I've been told during this pandemic quarantine thing, there's been some interesting movies coming out that's all done, through Zoom and online online conference sort of things, because that's where everybody's at right now, at least. So, but no, Lunopolis, lots of fun, really good. It does sort of also remind me of another movie that I'm gonna review later called The Banshee Chapter. It's a little higher grade. I still don't think it went out to the into the movie theaters, but still a little independent film. But much like Lunopolis, it pulls in a lot of these other kind of like weird conspiracy things. In that one, it's more weird stuff because when I talk about in the video, it's not really conspiracies. These are facts, these historical facts. But it pulls in a lot of these different ideas and puts them all together in one movie. But anyway, I hope you found that useful, and I will talk to you later. Bye.